Hello and welcome. Today I will be talking about Windows versus Linux in the enterprise. Here are the group members: Eddie Mazarregos, Mario Castillo, Marcos Velasquez, Talha Rashid, and Treyvion Johnson. This is our agenda. I'll begin with the introduction when I will be talking about the pros and cons, and I will finish it with a conclusion. As you know in business, the main focus is to always have the competitive edge against one's competition, but you may also want to make sure that your employees are properly equipped and trained in the latest technology needed to achieve their goals. One of the main pieces of technology this focus is placed on the computer's very own operating system, defined as the software that supports a computer's basic functions. This makes the OS a crucial part of the success of a business, whether it is used on a desktop or a server. Some of the pros of Windows installation is that Windows itself and its software are easy to install. I'm pretty sure everyone has done it before. One of its installation cons is that Windows can be expensive. Also, it has a limited use of installation keys, and by that I mean that you cannot go around installing Windows on every computer that you own. It's also hard to configure to run from an external source and is not so flexible or configurable. One of the really cool things about Linux is that it can run from a diversity of media. There are no license restrictions, and the best thing is that it's free, highly configurable, and can be installed in many devices. One of Linux installation cons is that not all programs are compatible with Linux. Adobe Flash seems to be slower, installation can be tricky and take some time, and there are no easy ways to uninstall it. The pros of Windows: ease to use, that the Windows OS is one of the most popular and easiest OS used, so chances are that you and your company already have experience with its interface. The cons are that sometimes there are over-the-top changes to the interface, which can be a hassle for some, and because of these upgrades, sometimes useful options are harder to access. One of the really cool things that Linux use is that there are many versions available out there, so you can just download whatever works best for you. Also, anyone is free to modify the Linux OS. While it may be difficult to learn at first, after you get the hang of it, the user can truly take advantage of all the options available. One of the cons is that people seem to be less familiar with this interface and have avoided it because of its reputation. There's no real general support other than getting it through the forums or by talking to people with experience in it. Pros of Linux security is that for files to be executable, they have to be accessed by someone who possesses administrative privileges requiring a password. Because the programming code is available for anyone to view, there are many eyes constantly examining it, which makes it highly difficult for malware to be hidden within the code. Also, Linux does not have the root access as compared to Windows. One major security concern is a critical bug that affects Bash. The virus must have access to program implementing Bash that have interactions with the network to be effective. The damage that this bug can cause could be bigger than what the virus Heartbleed caused, when it affects many people's computers. In enterprise, one of the biggest things to consider when picking an operating system is what software can run on it. Some operating systems may not support a certain software that could be vital to a business. Here are some lists of application businesses use: word processors, database management systems, spreadsheet applications, web browsers. The pros of Windows support is that there is only one distributor, more software is available, and paid support and amount of support. Its cons are the software cost, and sometimes more software is needed and does not come in a bundle. The pros of Linux software is that it has many distributors. Most software comes in bundles, and most software is multi-platform. The cons are that some of the Linux software is that it only runs on certain distributors, the limited amount of software, and a limited amount of support. Here are some Linux distributors: Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, and a lot more. In conclusion, our research indicates that there is no one operating system that can serve a company's server and desktop needs perfectly. Instead, we see that many organizations find that the best approach is to run a mixture of both operating systems within the workplace, because while the Windows OS and Linux OS both have different pros and cons, they manage to surpass one another in different situations. That said, for organizations that are deciding between Windows and Linux, our research leads us to the conclusion that the Windows OS is best for the workplace's desktop needs. The Linux OS is best for the workplace's server needs. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for watching.